Good evening and welcome to tonight's council meeting for Monday the 15th of December 2025. And unfortunately it's going to be our last council meeting for this year. I know I speak for everybody around this table when I say that on behalf of our Glenorchy community, I express our deepest condolences and sympathy to the people of Sydney, and specifically the community of Bondi following the terrible events on Sunday evening. It is impossible to express shock and sadness we undoubtedly all felt in the aftermath of this incident. I'm sure all of us, when we heard the news reports, could scarcely believe it. It is heart-wrenching to think of the people who have lost family members, made so much harder by the fact of the people who lost their lives for simply attending a public event in a public place. So many families will bear the scars of this shooting for generations. There is no place for such hideous violence in our society, and there is no place for such woeful bloodshed, where lives and the opportunities each of them represented are so terribly and tragically cut short, although absolutely no fault of their own. To the people of Bondi, I and the entire council offer Glenorchy's sincerest sympathies. I have no doubt the broader community, as any Australian community would, will gather around the people, the families and the individuals who have been so deeply and directly impacted. I know their grief will not be short-lived, but I also know the community spirit will not either. As we fly our flag above these chambers at half-mast in recognition of the lives lost, I ask all of us to spare some private thoughts for the people who are dealing with this tragedy, those who came to the aid of the wounded in the aftermath, and of course those whose lives were cruelly taken. The council would now like to stand for a minute's silence. Thank you. Please be seated. Item 1 is apologies. Do we have any apologies? Full house. Confirmation of the minutes of the open meeting Monday the 24th November 2025. Could someone move them, please? Thank you, Deputy, and thank you, Alderman Slade. Sorry, not Alderman Slade. Beg your pardon, Alderman Marks. Deputy, would you like to say anything? True and fine record. Thank you. Any other conversation? No, I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour, raise your hands. Carried unanimously. Announcements by the Chair. So, in the aftermath of the event I spoke at the beginning of the meeting, I can't help but refer to and rely on our own community spirit. I can proudly say that over the past few weeks, I and many of the aldermen around the table have attended numerous events in the lead up to Christmas, and I have seen so much goodwill on display. I've been moved at how much celebration of diversity there's been, right down to our many carolers taking the time and understanding to learn and perform Christmas carols in different languages, celebrating other cultures and ensuring that tolerance prevails. I also look at the mural which is now being completed on the side of the building facing the bus mall. If you haven't seen it, there it is up there in its full glory, but you really need to see it outside in the full aspect. It's really quite amazing. It's another example of positive initiative designed to enhance our public spaces and generate a stronger sense of community pride. In so many ways, we are united by the fact we all live here, and I believe the artist has given us a mural which lets us collectively celebrate our natural environment, as well as beautify an otherwise nondescript wall onto the bus mall. If you haven't seen it yet, take a few minutes after the meeting to have a look. It is extremely impressive and an absolute credit to artist Trent Fisher. And speaking of community pride, I'm delighted to share another milestone for Glenorchy. Just this week, passenger rail services have returned to our city for the first time in more than 50 years, with the opening of the Berriedale track extension at the Tasmanian Transport Museum. This achievement is a testament to the dedication of the museum's volunteers who have worked tirelessly to restore the line. Their efforts reconnect us with our heritage while opening opportunities for tourism and community connection. Return of passenger service is not just about trains, it's about vision, perseverance, and what can be achieved when people come together. It is a proud moment for Glenorchy, and I thank everyone involved for bringing this project to life. And I must say, they get no government funding, and I think they've laid down 400 new sleepers. They've restored these trains and also their heritage buses to an inch of perfection. They're absolutely magnificent. And the last passenger train carried passengers through Glenorchy in 1974, so that's 50 years ago. And freight train stopped in 2014. And some of the infrastructure there goes back to 1876. And if you haven't been to the museum, take some time to go because it's just a treasure trove of stuff. And they'll be running little train trips over the next year. I would also like to take this opportunity to wish everyone in Glenorchy a happy and safe festival period. Perhaps given the events of the past 24 hours, we will all find a little extra reason to be kind to each other. Before I close, I want to recognise two of our staff members, Ben Hughes and Joel Imber, through their work supporting the Community Youth Justice Team South. They have helped the team earn an exceptional practice notable mention at the Australasian Youth Justice Awards, which is absolutely brilliant. This recognition is a credit not only to Ben and Joel, but to the values of Glenorchy City Council. It shows how the dedication of our staff can make a difference well beyond our municipality, supporting young people and strengthening communities across Tasmania. Now, this isn't just in closing because I'd also like to acknowledge the commitment and efforts of my fellow elected members throughout the year, and particularly acknowledge the extraordinary contribution of the City of Glenorchy staff. In so many ways, these people are our unsung heroes of the city, just going about their work every day to simply make our municipal area just that much better. Whether it's looking after our landfill or cleaning up a playground or keeping our many services running on behalf of the council and our community, I and my colleagues say a huge thank you. I would now like to introduce you to our elected officials this afternoon, but before that, I'll just give an acknowledgement to country. Glenorchy City Council acknowledges the Muwinina people as the traditional owners of this land. We recognise the Tasmanian Aboriginal people as the original owners and continuing custodians of the land and waters of this island of Twitter. We pay our respect to Aboriginal elders past and present, and we commit to working in a way that welcomes and respects all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. Joining me here in Chambers is Alderman Peter Riddler, Alderman Justin Stringer, Councillor Molly Kendall, Alderman Tim Marks, our Deputy Mayor, Alderman Russell Yaxley, Emilio Reali, our CEO, Alderman Stephen King, Alderman Stuart Slade, Alderman Josh Cockshott, and Alderman Shane Alderton. Now, before we open the agenda officially, I take this opportunity to make a statement about workplace health and safety. Glenorchy City Council takes workplace health and safety seriously, and this includes physical and psychological safety. We have a duty to ensure that our safe workplace is provided for our employees, elected members, contractors, volunteers, and members of the public who may be present at Council's workplaces. Council meetings form part of the Council's workplace, and it is expected that everyone who attends Council meetings will behave in a polite and respectful manner. Council has endorsed a statement of intent setting out how we as elected members have agreed to conduct ourselves in representing the people of Glenorchy. In accordance with this, any disagreement should be expressed respectfully, remembering both during debate and in decision making, we are elected to represent and serve the people of Glenorchy and to make our city the best it can be. Finally, I note that the open section of this meeting is being live streamed and an audio-visual recording of the meeting will occur in accordance with Council's recording of council meetings policy. Members of the public are not permitted to make audio-visual recordings of council meetings. We have 12 items on our agenda this afternoon, and agenda item number 1 has already been covered, which is apologies. We've also covered the confirmation of minutes and the announcements by the chair. So, does anyone have a pecuniary interest notification? No. We have item 5, which is a response to previous public questions taken on notice. We had one there from Janice Bryan, and that's been covered in the answers. And now we're moving on to item 6, which is public question time. And there are rules again for this. The council meeting is a formal meeting of the elected members elected by the Glenorchy community. It is chaired by the Mayor. Question time is an opportunity in the formal part of the meeting to ask questions of their elected council representatives about the matters that affect ratepayers and citizens. In accordance with Regulation 31(2) and 3, public question time, Local Government Meeting Procedures Regulation 2025, Council will allocate 15 minutes during the council meeting to invite members of the public to ask questions relating to the activities of council. The following rules and procedures apply to question time. Questions must relate to the activities of council. Members of the public will announce their name and residential address before asking questions, which will be recorded in the minutes. Questions will be put succinctly and in the form of a question, not comment. Questions must not be inflammatory, abusive, defamatory, contain a personal attack, or otherwise breach any rules of the meeting which have been explained by the chairperson. The chairperson may limit the number of questions asked by each member of the public in order to ensure that all members of the public wishing to ask questions are given the opportunity in the allocated time. The chairperson will decide the order in which the questions are to be asked and may rotate the order. Chairperson, in their absolute discretion, may refuse to answer a question if the chairperson deems that it is inappropriate or does not comply with these rules or the rules of the council meeting. And B, take a question on notice, in which case the answer will be provided in writing prior to the next council meeting and included on the agenda for the next council meeting. If a question is taken on notice, the chairperson may request that the member of the public submit their question in writing and may refuse to provide a response if the question is not provided as requested. Council is to publish information relating to question time, which we do. Okay, does anyone have a question? Thank you.
Hello, my name is Angela Stirk. I live in Walker Street, Rosetta. Firstly, I'd like to thank Council for their work on the pool at Tolosa Street and for the Claremont Wetland Boardwalk. My question, however, relates to an email that I sent individually to all councillors in the Mayor on the 23rd of November, of which I've had no response from, except for Mr. Alderton. Thank you. My email was, and my question is, about putting forward a motion for Glenorchy City Council to remove itself from the partnership with the not-for-profit organisation Working It Out to run the pilot LGBTQIA plus after school group for 12 to 18-year-olds at the Glenorchy Health Centre. I want to underline that I am not asking for the removal of the group. I'm asking about removal of council's partnership with that particular organisation. I'm asking for a detailed explanation about why you would not withdraw from this partnership. I'm asking for this motion because such a partnership with Working It Out does seem to be in conflict with Glenorchy City Council's statement of commitment to safeguarding children, young people and to protect their well-being. This is because, and as an educator and parent, Working It Out currently provides controversial services and counselling to children and young people who may display symptoms of gender dysphoria and distress, otherwise known as identifying as trans. And these are the young people that may be attending the after-school group. Working It Out has publicly advertised an affirmation fund to recommend and support access to puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones and breast binders to young people. Yet the evidence around the world and in Australia shows that these treatments do not support young people's well-being. Working It Out has openly promoted the idea to children and in schools that it is possible to be born in the wrong body, to have a gender identity that is at odds with one's body, and that body modification and taking medicines can alleviate this distress in what they call is a form of gender affirmation. The treatments of prescribing puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones, treatments which Working It Out advocates for, have been banned in Queensland, New Zealand, Sweden, Finland, the US, and in the UK with this recent closure of the Tavistock Centre. How could this be compatible with Glenorchy City Council's statement of commitment to safeguarding young children? I want to add to my question of why you would not pass a motion and explain this to me about removing yourself from this partnership with Working Out, noting Council has committed resources and staff and time to support Working Out's pilot program in Glenorchy, disregarding the fact, it would seem, that Working It Out already has a yearly revenue of $1.5 million and is supported with a grant of over $900,000 over 3 years from the state government.
Okay, thank you, Angela. I know you're very passionate about this issue. The council is highly committed to inclusiveness, and we do have staff who identify as they, them, and we're very proud of them. But I do believe we've got a substantial answer coming back to you.
Mayor, I believe there's a more detailed answer, but we may still have to take that on notice too.
Thank you.
Later.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. That was all.
That's all. Thank you. Yes?
Hello everyone, my name's Lucy. I'm in the sheet as Lucinda, and I was
suburb, please.
pardon, and I'm from Springfield Avenue, Moona. And sorry, I'm a bit nervous, so I'm going to read.
That's right.
But I was actually really happy to read a little while ago about the after-school program for LGBTIQ+ young people. And to see that it was providing support and social opportunities for young LGBTIQ+ community members. And I was also very disturbed to read in the November minutes some of the anti-equality rhetoric. As a ratepayer and an LGBTIQ+ community member, I want to be reassured that elected members understand the harm created by anti-equality campaigners who manipulate and distort facts about trans and gender diverse people and their essential healthcare. Trans people are our family members, our neighbours, our friends and work colleagues. The anti-rights activism like that demonstrated at the November meeting seeks to rob our neighbours, family members, friends of the rights that the rest of us enjoy. It especially makes me fearful for the health and well-being and the freedom of trans and gender diverse young people that I know and care about. When we rob our young people of their right to be safe, well and cared for, our community also misses out on the incredible contribution that each young person can make. We all lose and our community is poorer for it. The rights and freedom of trans people is not a niche issue. It's something that affects every one of us. So my questions are, and I'll read them all if that's okay, or I can go one by one. Any preference?
No, you can read them all because I think we'll have to take answers on notice.
So, knowing that LGBTIQ+ young people experience much higher than average rates of bullying, poor mental health due to stigma and higher rates of suicidality, will the council commit to keep funding and expanding essential programs like the School Pride Group? The CAS report, cited by previous questions, and I assume this is what some of the evidence that is being referred to, the CAS report has been widely discredited based on prejudice, not evidence, and I can provide some reading material about where it's been discredited. Will the Glenorchy City Council commit to seeking evidence from Tasmanians with lived experience and state advocacy organisations like Equality Tasmanian working it out when making decisions that affect the health and well-being of LGBTIQ+ community members? Knowing that bad actors and anti-equality campaigns are lobbying the council directly in the form of questions like those in the November council meeting, will the Glenorchy City Council make a firm and clear commitment to inclusion and speak out against hateful rhetoric that harms LGBTIQ+ community members under the veil of everyone having their say? In the context of the Tasmanian Government's recently launched LGBTIQ+ inclusion strategy, Our Inclusive Island, will the Glenorchy City Council commit to financially supporting programs and other actions that centre on LGBTIQ+ inclusion? And a last question is, will the older people and councillor here also commit as individuals to finding out more about trans and gender diverse people from trans and gender diverse people? Not from people who just want to have say, but the people with that actual direct lived experience, because there are plenty of resources out there, resources like Working It Out and individual community members who I know would be glad to share their experience with them. Thanks.
Thank you. We'll take that on notice and get with you. Did you want to say anything?
Yeah, the last question, I believe we have a copy of the other questions submitted. The last question, I believe, wasn't actually on that. We may need that added if you wouldn't mind sending us that.
You can do that. Thank you.
Okay, and then Eddie, would you like to come to the table?
I'm Eddie Steenbergen, and I live in Mary's Hope Road, Rosetta. My first question is about the budget workshop that was mentioned in the agenda. It's happened since the last meeting, and I wonder, I gather that's right at the beginning of the budget process, very early on. I wonder what the purpose of that workshop was.
Yes, I'm Patrick CEO.
The workshop was really the kick-off to explain the process that we'll be going through in the new year. So it's really just the very start of the process, just letting people know that we would like any ideas or bids that people have to submit those, and we'll start to go through the budget process in earnest in the new year.
That leads me to my follow-up question. This is to the Mayor. In your announcements to each council meeting, will you undertake to give us a budget update on whatever process has gone on since the last meeting, just to inform the public and add a little transparency to the process?
I don't have any problem with the transparency. It's just that it's usually monthly, or we do provide monthly updates, in our papers. But you're asking, like, if we have when we have further workshops?
I wasn't aware that there were regular updates in the agenda workshops.
On finance. Yeah,
No, in our papers, our council papers, we provide updates on
financial performance reports. Usually a monthly performance indicator and financial statement.
Okay. Be that as it may, I think it adds an extra transparency if it comes by voice from the Mayor.
Yeah, well, I would probably get that as a result of a workshop update, which is not as regular as the monthly updates. But I'm happy to do it.
It's excellent.
Sorry, what is the update?
Like when we have workshops, where we've discussed things like budget bids and, if there's any something that's going to affect things, where we're allowed to, as in it's not in a closed agenda. that okay?
Could I add something to that?
Yes, ma'am?
Hasn't been here longer than the most over the last period of time. We asked several years ago to have updates on the budget much sooner than later so that we could be involved, and so we always agreed to start around December. So basically it's all about preparation for the budget and staff talking to us, and as the Mayor said, budget bids and things of that nature. So at the moment there's probably not a lot to talk about except the fact that we're being fed information and prepared for what might come.
Thank you for that.
Fair way to put it.
Yeah.
And that's what we've been doing for the last several years, since we get things just a couple of months before, but now we've started much earlier. We're much more aware of what's going on.
I get that, but the impression I got from the CEO was that the purpose of this first workshop was to run through the process. So presumably you have a plan, which
Yes,
the public may
which
be
is like a
interested in.
spreadsheet saying, you know, in this part we discussed that, and, you know, as we lead into it. If you want to elaborate?
So this is about the schedule of the workshops that we'll have, and what they'll contain. Like we might have a capital works program brought forward on a particular date. We might discuss the operational part of the budget on another date. So this was really about laying out that schedule and what we'll discuss at those times, and that sort of will bring us to the end of the financial year ready to approve the next budget.
Did you want to say something? You are?
Okay.
Yes.
I think we're done with that for now. The second question is about the item in closed session tonight about the asset management software. Does that have any connection with Project Hudson, or is that an entirely separate issue?
No, it's a completely separate issue.
Yes, through the chair, yes.
Okay, good. And finally, about bus stops. Historically, council has refused to take any responsibility for the maintenance of bus stop infrastructure. I may be stretching a little bit, but that's the impression I've got. And I gather there's been a small change recently. Does council now have some responsibility for the bus walk, for example?
Mayor, the only bus infrastructure that council owns is the bus interchange here in Glenorchy Street. The reason council doesn't do any maintenance on bus stops is because we don't have ownership of them. They are under the ownership of Metro, although Metro of recent times, I understand, removed them from the asset register and said they don't own the bus infrastructure anymore. So, but council have not accepted ownership of any roadside bus infrastructure, except we've always owned the interchange here. They're the only bus shelters, bus stops that council does actually own.
Okay, so there has been no change.
No change.
Good. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay, do we have any petitions addressing council meetings? Okay, and now we're moving on to 8.1, activities of the mayor. And we have the recommendation there, but I think, or Marcus, you wanted to move something or amendment?
Yes, I'd like to move an amendment to that, as it says in one part of it that Alderman actually attended events in your behalf, but on one of them it says participate in the Multicultural Council of Tasmania's annual general meeting 2025, which Alderman actually didn't attend. I actually attended and was the returning officer for that event. So I'd like to move the amendment.
Okay,
I can second it if you like.
yes, okay, so,
Are you sure? Oh, no, I wasn't there.
so we have a mover and a seconder. We didn't get really a chance to discuss anything else. Do you want to?
No.
Anyone else want to discuss anything? No? All right, so I'll put it to the vote.
Move and second.
Yes, we have Alderman Tim Marks moved it as an amended motion, and the deputy seconded it. All those in favour? Aye. Carried unanimously. Goodness, all that hard work and no one wanted to talk about it. Nothing under.
Well, we all attended we all had coaches fighting together, but
Yeah,
makes it sort of sound like.
that's right. There really was this month, and last month for that matter, I really have to commend Alderman for stepping up. It's an extremely heavy workload this time of the year. Item 10.1 is a policy update on waste services. And if I could have someone to move this. Thank you, Alderman Marks, and a seconder, please. Thank you, Alderman Slade. Alderman Marks, do you wish to speak to it?
Just that it's good to have an update on our policies because this one has been 4 years since it's been updated, and when we're having streamlined changes to our services and hopefully less rubbish going into the tip and more recycling programs coming on, we need to keep up with the policies.
Thank you. Alderman Slade, did you want to add anything?
No, I've got nothing further to
Deputy?
Thank you, Mayor. I've got just a couple of questions. Just reading through the report, I was just wondering, aside from the recommended reformatting, there's some slight adjustments of words and small additions which have been provided by the responsible officer and the managers and the coordinators. And it mentioned in there about the recommendation. Were there any recommendations that were not included that we haven't was it anything that wasn't taken on board?
Yeah, I don't believe there was anything that was omitted or not taken on board.
Yeah, just from that feedback, I guess wondering how much feedback was received and what.
Sorry, through you, you might be referring to the waste strategy, which is out for consultation, which is separate to this.
Okay.
Is that what you're questioning on the feedback?
No. So point 4 in the proposal. The proposal details that the consultation demonstrated council's intent in terms of reviewing the policy and the recommendations were received. And I'm assuming the recommendations were from the management and
yes, from internal
so
staff.
what I'm asking is were there any recommendations for the policy that hadn't been included?
Very, very minor. There was just a couple of words which maybe could have been clearer, worded slightly differently.
Okay,
nothing.
That's fine. That's all.
Yeah, sorry.
And my other question was the policy reviewed by our sustainability officer?
Mayor, policy went through a review of our waste management staff and our environment team. The sustainability officer wasn't on board quite at the time when this was finalised. I think the policy was just finalised and the officer started probably the next week. That's right.
No worries, thank you.
Okay, any further discussion? Thank you, Councillor Kendall.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Yep, I was really happy to see this policy update and also to see the service levels doc that went alongside it. And I really like the fact that we're planning for the long term in terms of multiple occupancy dwellings and embedding the recycling and FOGO as a part of that mix as well. So, there's a few different things in there, including the pro rata payment for car parks. So how do we actually ensure that that's spent on sustainable measures when someone pays that, rather than having a car park, that they pay the amount of money for the... No, what am I talking about?
That one is coming.
Oh yeah, that's a question for later. No, the question for this one was, so when it's a private waste collection, how we've set a measure in there about that private waste operators have to meet the standards of council or exceed them. So I was just wondering, in practicality, like in reality, how do we ensure that happens? So is that through policy settings, or do we make sure that are there checkups or?
Yeah, so I think that's mostly around just making sure if we're going to accept private collections that they still meet the same standards. So the people aren't missing out, or we're not going to damage other infrastructure by doing it inappropriately. As opposed to checks, it probably really comes down to the agreement in the first instance, and then if there are complaints afterwards. I'm not aware of us sort of randomly auditing it, but there's not that many properties that are on them, but I'm sure we would hear if issues were arising. But otherwise, it's mostly around the agreement in the first instance that they will meet the same standards.
Okay, yeah, cool. Just trying to visualise that.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Any further discussion? Alderman Alderson?
Thank you, Mayor. More a couple of questions than a discussion. It's just around the 240 litre FOGO bin. We have a number of households in Glenorchy that have very small gardens, single elderly people live in these establishments. Have we considered as a council or thought about letting those people rather than, I know we have a very good opt-out policy, which I fought hard for as a ratepayer to give people exemption, but I just feel there's another level missing there where maybe we could get some of the elderly community that have very limited small gardens to be able to downsize in both cost and size of the FOGO bin from a 240 litre to a 140 litre size bin. Is that possible?
We allow people to downsize it, but we don't reduce the cost. The challenge is the introduction of FOGO obviously is partly offsetting your rubbish loads, and I think the concern is from a strategic point of view. Obviously, as you know, it's really important to get as much FOGO into the FOGO as we can, keep the organics out of the landfill. That how do I word that? If we make it too easy to downsize your FOGO for a reduced cost, that too many people will take that up, and then as your FOGO bin's full, it's just going back into your rubbish bin. So we're trying to encourage people to maintain the full-size FOGO bin as much as possible, only downsizing it if it's on the basis of mobility, really.
I'd expect it to have strict criteria if you're going to do it anyway. I'm not asking for open slather 140 size FOGO bins. I'm just saying, is it possible to look at 140 size FOGO bins for exceptional circumstances and maybe reflect that cost as well?
Yeah, look, we could. I'd be happy to have a look at it. Yeah, just as I said, the concern will be around just making sure if we were to do it, that there was a way of doing it that didn't open those gates up to.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Yeah.
It has some.
We can definitely
have some very strict criteria.
Yeah. I just off the top of my head aren't sure quite how we would word that, but I can definitely have a look at it.
Okay, thank you.
So following that, Luke, it would cost the same to pick up a small bin as a big bin logistically. Would that be right?
Yeah, from a collection perspective, yeah, much the same.
So it's sort of subsidising the whole system.
Yeah, look, there's potentially could be some very small gains from weight, but in terms of the labour of actually collecting the bin, yeah, very similar.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? No? I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? It's carried unanimously. We're now moving on to item 11.1, which is procurement exemptions. Who would like to move this one? Thank you, Alderman Cockshut and Alderman King.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Very simple one here. We're just seeking an extension for the 12-month period, which in turn takes it out of scope in terms of costing. So it's just coming to us to seek approval to extend the period for 12 months for an additional $9,000, and then next year in December, council officers will undertake a full market research of the process. So happy to move that as an exemption, and no issues when it comes to that, to enable us to make sure that our email security and anti-phishing software is in line.
Good, thank you. Any further discussion? Yes, Alderman Riddler?
Yeah, I've got a question. I'm not against the exemption, but do we test the software that it actually is through the gentleman?
Sorry, Deputy. Sorry, CEO.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, this one is actually already in use, so we know it's effective and efficient. So
No, that wasn't my question. Do we test the tester or the anti-phishing and the security, email security? Do we test that we're getting value for our bucks? How do we test it?
So yeah, we get test emails sent to us and to try to trick us into answering them. So it's actually trying to keep us aware. So we can we use an anti-phishing button where if we suspect it's spam, we can hit that button and it will send it off to a quarantine area and then determine whether it's spam or not.
That's what I want to hear. Thank you.
So that is a program's regularly run with our staff just to make sure that they're staying vigilant.
Yeah. The reason I ask is 40 years ago, I asked a computer firm to back everything up system-wise every week. We had a failure, they couldn't recover it. It wasn't even working. So that's why I asked the question. Are we testing the tester?
Yeah. Mayor, I can assure you, we actually do back up everything as well. So.
All right, thanks, Mayor.
Okay, are there any further questions? No? I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour, it's carried unanimously. Now, here's an interesting one. 11.2, policy update. Use of animals for entertainment and use of jumping castles on council property. Thank you, Alderman King and Councillor Kendall. Alderman King.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you, this is pretty straightforward. It's just a few minor adjustments as far as I can see. We talked about this a couple of years ago, whatever it was, and I guess it's a living document, so it'll be updated as required. And that's all I see this as being. As it says, minor administrative and grammatical corrections as required.
Okay, Councillor Kendall.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to see this come in and happy to commend it. I think it's especially both of them, but the animal policy is about ensuring safety and ethical standards for not just exotic animals, while expanding exotic animals, but safety standards around domestic animals, considering the ethics and the conservation of not just the animals, but also of the environment as well. So yeah, happy to see these policies come up.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Yes, thank you, Alderman Tina.
Yes, I have a question. Under the part that says jumping castles, does that include TV screens and stuff? Because if we have somebody that wants to say hold a concert at Pfizer Park, big blow up TV screens, is it classing them as jumping castle? Because
they're not jumping castles, but they are inflatables.
They're inflatables, and that's.
It would be. I think the director's got a response.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, through you. The distinctions in the definition, which is on an inflatable device being something that you can play on or in. So yeah, you could potentially have an inflatable device that's part of a viewing screen or the like, would be okay.
Because it doesn't say that in here, it just says inflatable device.
Yeah, it's within the definitions of it in the definition section. So it'll say that
Page 62.
Yeah, a structural device in which patrons may play on. So this has come up with some other queries as well. So it's really around, like, as you know, the Hillcrest tragedy and the risk of it becoming airborne while people are on or in it. So if it's not something that people can get on or in, then it's potentially still okay.
Okay, any further discussion? Yes, thank you, Alderman Riddler.
Yeah, Mayor, through you to the General Manager, does this include the educational displays for snakes and other reptiles that come to fairs and so on? Because the way I read this, they're excluded, they're not excluded. It says farm animals, pets, etc., rabbits, etc., but from an education point of view, and I'm tied up with John Buddy Bird Association and also Southern Tas Bird Association, and we have field days, and these educational reptile people come and have displays in a very safe environment, and also I've seen them at the Glenorchy Library. So my question is, the way I read this, they wouldn't be allowed to operate in Glenorchy.
Thank you, Luke.
Thank you, Mayor, through you. The distinction there, Alderman Riddler, is entertainment. So used for an educational purpose in accordance with the appropriate standards and guidelines is okay. Bring them in just for fun is not permitted on council property.
Well, it depends on how you look at education versus fun for some people.
They're not performing.
Sorry?
They're not trained to perform.
Well,
You would hope next are fun.
they're trained not to strike, put it that way. Try to. All right, you've answered the question. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? No, I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour, carried unanimously. Item 11.3 is the Glenorchy parking plan. And I'm going to need a mover. Thank you, Alderman Alderton and Alderman King. Like to take off?
Yes, thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank the council officers for the extensive work they've put into this plan. Quite a lot of time taken up reading this when we're reading our council papers. Basically, this plan aligns with our affordable housing and creating additional housing for Glenorchy in regards that it gives developers the opportunity to buy or purchase parking spaces at $5,000 a pop when there actually isn't enough space to properly allow for enough parking spaces for a development to progress to the GPA and pass. So I'm very supportive of this plan because it opens up further opportunities for properties to be developed and land to be developed, which may possibly otherwise not be developed if you had to strictly adhere to the number of parking spaces required for the development application.
Right, is that a statement or a question?
No, that's a statement, yeah.
Oh, statement, right, okay. Alderman King?
Thank you, Mayor. Look, if anyone wonder what aldermen or councillors do, it's roughly 250 pages. Patrick, is that about right, give or take?
With attachments?
With a few pictures in there, yeah, with attachments.
Most of the attachments. Yeah.
So much fun to read all this, but thank you. It was an extensive report and it wasn't confusing. It was, you know, except for that one little question I had, and other than that, I appreciate it.
Yeah. Can I just ask, is there any, I don't remember reading anything about CPI on the 5,500?
Yeah, through you, Mayor. It's set in the fees and charges, so we can review it annually.
Okay, cool. All right, any other discussion? Yes, Councillor Kendall.
Following up on that shocking foreshadowing earlier. So, yeah, my question was around in the circumstances when there's, you know, densification, and really happy to see this come up, by the way, and have really enjoyed learning about it. And it's an important part of the way we densify our city in the future, so we're not just spreading out, you know, we're filling in the gaps for more housing and more humans. But yeah, so my question was about in the case where developers pay for the parking spot and they don't have the parking spot and that money goes into sustainability measures, how wide the category is for what that can be spent on. Could it be spent on active transport or other initiatives?
Yeah, sure. Through you, Mayor, yes, absolutely. There is some definitions in the parking plan about what the money can be spent on, and yes, it can be spent on supporting active transport or public transport or improving our road infrastructure, so footpaths, cycleways, roads and things like that, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Who moves that? Alderton. Did you want to add anything?
No.
That's right. Okay, in that case, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, it's carried unanimously. Very, very extensive report as previously discussed. And now we're moving on to item 11.4, which is the financial performance report to the 30th of November 2025. Alderman Cockshott, thank you. And a seconder, please, Alderman King.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I think it's one of the first reports I've read from the financial statement where it does say we're actually not tracking above or at where our expectations are. Admittedly, it's very early, but we review, our revenue is down a bit lower than expected and expenditure is a bit higher, but after the analysis, there's no real need to panic at this point in time until the mid-year review, but that's all in line with goings in and out and other works completed. A good thing to note is 35% of the pool repair has been completed, and all in going well, it is on track to be completed within this financial year. So I don't think there's no need for concern here. It's just timings when we're getting paying bills and so on. So I think overall good. Look forward to seeing the report come January.
Thank you. Alderman King, do you want to add anything?
Oh, it's a concise report. I appreciate all the Cockshott's remarks and it's pretty on the market. So just what he said. So.
Thank you. Anyone else? No. In that case, I'm going to put that motion unless you want to add to it, Alderman Cockshott.
All good, thank you.
Okay. I'll put that motion. All those in favour, raise your hand. Carried unanimously. And then magic systems. 11.5 is notices of motion. Questions on notice or without notice. Have any? No? Okay. Now if I could get somebody to move a motion to close the open. Move the motion to close the open No, those are open reports. Thank you. And with that, we have to say goodbye to our audience. Thank you. And to those who are viewing on tonight's broadcast, can we wish you a very merry, happy and safe Christmas, and we look forward to seeing you again in the new year. Thank you.